Hello, everyone. We're back for more of our first looks at the Drowned City cards. This time it's going to be the Mystic card, since that's the class that's left here. Well, Survivors will be next time, but we have two investigators to mention briefly at the beginning. I'm not going to go into them in any depth, but we kind of figure that these are made for them, and I don't think anyone else can take purple cards in the set, so it's just these two folks. We have a couple of returning investigators, though. It's Gloria, who existed in novella form before, and she likes to do encounter card manipulation, looking at the encounter deck. Um, yeah, she's a really good investigator. And then she has some new cards that allow her to do that. So, again, don't want to talk about these too much, but they let her basically cancel encounter cards if she has a copy of one beneath her. And then the Prophecy of the End goes into the encounter deck, and there's three of them. And if she looks at the encounter deck and sees this, then you put it face down beneath her. And if you do this three times, then she just gets defeated. So be careful.
Spooky.
Yeah. And then the other returning investigator from earlier in this series is Agatha Crane, who looks exactly like she did in Seeker form. The only difference is the other side. Instead of getting insights level 0 to 3, she gets spell events level 0 to 3, and then she's otherwise mystic 0 to 5. She does get, just like the other one gave you up to 10 other level 0 mystic cards, this one gives you the seeker ones instead. And she's all about playing those cards, but only after she seals, cancels, or ignores chaos tokens. So those are the archetypes we're looking for here.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's another investigator. We'll talk about that later. All right, let's start off.
Oh, the meme has begun.
Um, there's not much to say about this card at this point. I think even Duke said something like, "Well, we better taboo this." Let's just briefly mention why it's bad.
Yeah.
So it costs two resources. You play it, takes up an accessory slot, and when one or more doom is placed on a card you control, you exhaust it, place a resource on the card as an offering, and then if it has three or more offerings, you can remove all the offerings and exhaust it. So importantly, not the same turn that you just put the third offering on it.
Yeah.
You immediately get an action given to someone at your location.
Yeah. So yeah, there's been a lot of discourse. This card has been memed on pretty heavily, I feel, at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I mean it is bad. I think so. Just to describe why it's bad, I think that the reasons though is because there's way too many things that are gating you from getting an extra action. Um, you have to play this, then you have to have 3 rounds of doom being placed on cards you control. You wait one more round, and then you can take an extra action. And also during that turn, you can't also put more doom on things because it's already exhausted. Um, so if you figure that a scenario goes maybe at most 12 to 15 rounds long, this will get you, if you draw it on turn one, 4 actions out of it. Assuming that you're putting a doom on a card that you control every single turn, um, that is a tall order.
Yep. Yeah, it's kind of sad because I like the Doom builds, but this isn't really doing anything for those Doom builds because you probably should play something else in your accessory slot. If this
Yeah.
didn't take up a slot, if it didn't cost two resources, I start thinking about it a little bit more.
Yeah. If it placed a resource per doom that you place, so cards that add more than one doom, or
Mm,
if it didn't exhaust, if you could, maybe if the only thing that caused it to exhaust was removing the 3 offerings from it to take another extra action, that would be a fair card, I think. Um,
eh,
it's the fact that you have to do it every round for 3 rounds to get an action out of it.
yeah, you can't really miss a round, otherwise it's even worse.
Yeah.
So I mean, the card, if they thought it was too strong to have it exhaust or not exhaust, then make it a level 1 or 2 card. If they thought that it was too strong, I don't know, like just don't print the card the way it is. Just feels like a waste. Like give me a different version of this effect, right? There was a whole discussion about, oh, well, we're just going to get a level, 3 or 4 version in the set. That'll be better. And then this is here just for down the rabbit hole. Spoiler alert, that's not here.
Be next expansion.
Yeah, right. Okay. No more questions, Your Honor. Let's go on to these two. They're very similar cards. Breath of the
Yes.
Sleeper and Eyes of the Dreamer. They are both 3-cost assets that are spells with 9 charges, which is a lot of charges.
Charges.
And similar to, I guess, the Gatling gun from last week. Well, no, it's not quite the same thing. But you use your so the charges are not used basically in the normal way. It's charges are for something else. So
Yep.
use your willpower instead of your combat. Same thing for the investigation. Okay. Before revealing chaos tokens for this test, you may spend up to 3 charges to reveal that many additional chaos tokens. Choose one to resolve and ignore the rest. Presumably that's 2, but it could be comboed with other things, I think.
I think so.
If you succeed and the chosen token matches an ignored token, this attack does +2 damage. The other one is the same thing, except for you get a second clue. So they've made the whole, like, 2 clues is the same as 3 damage thing here.
Yep. Which I think is good.
Yeah. And I don't feel like this is a waste if you're, like, overkilling a 2-health enemy. It seems fine. Like, you're not putting extra. This is still a level 0 card, right? So I don't feel like you're wasting anything. But theoretically, if you spend the 3 charges every time, that's equivalent to. Is Armageddon only 3 charges? I'm not sure.
Yes, I think so.
It might be.
Yeah.
Shriveling
Yeah.
is 4, so that's like if you
Yes.
pass, it's a guaranteed 8 damage. This one,
Yep.
if you spend the 3 charges every time, it's a guaranteed, and you manage to ignore the right tokens, it's 9 damage, which is really nice.
So yes, I think that Breath of Sleeper is good. Obviously, there's a lot of variance in trying to make sure that you hit those. As you said, I think it's going to come down to if you can combo this with other cards that reveal and ignore additional tokens.
Mhm.
Like for example, if you choose the token that matches an ignored token that came from a different card that ignores tokens, or Jacqueline Fine that ignores the tokens.
Exactly.
Actually,
Yeah.
maybe she cancels them. I don't know. But if that is allowed, then like okay, this goes up in value. I think that Eyes of the Dreamer is insane. Specifically because one, you can spend 0 charges.
Mm-hmm.
And now this is just 6 cents. And that's really, really good just as a baseline, right? And then I think like one, this says nothing about the auto fail. You will, if you spend at least a charge, you cannot draw the auto fail. Correct?
Yeah. So this is basically grotesque statue as long as you spend 1 charge,
Yes.
and there's a lot of charges there.
There's a lot of charges on it. And like that's really good, even without the capacity to discover additional clues. I think specifically with Eyes of the Dreamer, I think Breath of Sleeper is different because of again, enemy management is a different problem. It has urgency. You really want to hit that +2 damage when you need to, right?
However, if you don't need to, you just don't spend charges. Maybe if you don't want to, right? Then you just
Right.
can. It's a wither and a shriveling in one.
Right. Assuming that you can reliably hit that double token, which I like. The issue that I'm finding is that I feel like it's going to be hard to do so. But and now that I'm thinking about this, I think this works like this, right? Is if you reveal 2 bless tokens, you choose the bless, and if there was another one you ignored,
Mm-hmm.
you that counts, but then you just keep drawing, right?
Yeah, the one that you select to resolve.
Yeah.
Then you keep drawing from that one.
If that's a bless, yeah.
Yeah.
So like this might also really be good in the bless curse decks, and I guess in this case specifically curse because they're mystic. Although I guess there's some bless.
I mean, there's
So
a level
that's
0 card, right? So I think that, and spoiler alert, there's no level 3 or 5 equivalent here.
right.
So
And there's no evade version either.
there's no evade version. So actually, yeah, this is pretty good in Bless Curse.
Yeah.
You need a way to reveal more tokens. And if it's using the ability here, that's good. If it's using Olive or something else we'll see in a second, that's also good. They also want you to seal things, right? You could seal the single tokens, essentially. Like if there's one -5 in the bag, you seal that. If there's one, cultist token or something, you seal that, and that way it's more likely to hit. I think that's kind of
Right.
neat.
Yeah, the real issue that I'm running into is just the fact that I feel like it's going to be hard to trigger the matching thing because there's like in, let's say, standard, right? Usually there's either 2 or 3 zeros, there's either 2 or 3 -1s, and there's like 2 -2s at the start. So those are the only candidates that are available to you to be able to match. Obviously, the symbol tokens are different because some campaigns go hard in one token, some campaigns kind of spread them out. So like in, for example, Scarlet Keys, where like we want to go all tablet tokens in this run, then
Yeah,
this is a lot better because you can try and reliably get the tablet tokens, right?
that's right. That's right.
Um,
Yeah.
but then all the other tokens are all singleton. +1s, Elder Sign, Auto Fail, -4s and like -5s are usually singleton.
hmm
Even in harder difficulties, -6 and -7, -8 are usually singleton as well. And then sometimes they add another -3 so they can get a pair of -3s maybe. But that's kind of what I'm finding with this is like it's gonna be. I feel like it's gonna be hard to activate the additional benefit, assuming you're not going Curse Plus. And I think it does go up with Curse Plus though, because you're adding like up to 10 of those same tokens,
hmm
and that's huge. So those are my thoughts, and that's why I think Eyes of the Dreamer is so much better because I think that without the additional effect, it's still really good.
So Pax kind of talked to me about this card, these two, and said basically what's interesting about them is that the level 0 versions are what you're stuck with for the rest of the campaign, but you can kind of start to build around making it happen. You upgrade,
Hmm.
Olive to level 2, you do some sealing, I don't know, whatever else you might do to make these things work. But
Yeah.
at level 0, you're probably right that it's not going to reliably hit, and maybe that's okay. For the fighting one, maybe less so.
Right. So yeah, I'm excited to try them out.
If
Like
you're
I think they're
Jim,
really well designed. I like them.
there's not even an elder sign in the bag, and it's a skull instead.
That's true.
Hmm.
That is true.
I don't know. I think that the part of the idea with this set was that you seal some of those tokens. So the kind of weird rituals we saw before, maybe you use them with these, and you seal a +1 just in order to get it
Right.
out of the bag. Is that
But
worth
I
it?
guess you
I don't know.
yeah, you don't want to seal the zeros because there's a couple of them that do seal zeros.
That's right. Okay, let's keep going on. This
Oh
is
god.
a card. It is a pact and a science. The great work gives you an additional experience after each scenario of the campaign, but if you are defeated, you are usurped by the homunculus. Replace each signature card in your deck with a random basic weakness. You know what? Don't do it in Gloria. That's 6
Oh
cards.
god. Oh god.
So that includes signature weaknesses and assets or skills or whatever.
Yeah.
Flip this card and replace your investigator with it for the remainder of the campaign. And it is this guy. 2s across the board. Can't be chosen as a starting investigator, of course, and you cannot add or move or upgrade cards in your deck. +2 skill value while resolving abilities on spell cards. I guess that's nice. But if you defeat it a second time, you die.
So obviously this reminds me of I always want to call the card Unspeakable Oath because that's the art for this scenario, but that's not what it's called. Um
Oh, Karen Zobel.
yeah, thank you.
hmm
That's what I was going to call it. Obviously this is very similar to Karen Zobel because it basically means if you're defeated, you're killed. Um and I think that this is the Johnny card, right? Um, or is it Timmy? I forgot. Um, Basically, if like I think that the risk with this is fun. And
Yeah.
so if you want to go for it, you can go for it.
It's
And
more
hey, just
fun than just being outright killed.
exactly. So I think that's cool. Like I like the design of the card at least. I don't think that it is. I don't think it's broken because like you know a lot of scenario effects can just defeat you,
hmm
not necessarily in the scenario, but like if you fail a scenario, then you get defeated. Same thing with we've all seen instances where you'll die from Karen Zobel even though you don't actually die, right?
Yeah.
Um, so I think it's the same thing. I also don't think necessarily. Well, okay, I guess here's the question, right? Some of the reason why people don't like playing Karen Zobel is because it incentivizes everyone to like baby the investigator that has the Karen's Oval because they're getting so much value that they're like, if we just keep you alive, we'll win the whole thing. Um, I don't like.
And this is
Does that
just
effect
7,
happen
right?
here?
It's
Yeah, this is just 7 XP.
and you
Um,
can survive. Like if you make it into the last scenario, and you are playing this guy instead,
yeah,
at least you can play.
exactly.
It's not the worst. Maybe you can build around, spells anyway. So,
Yeah,
eh,
I think it's fun.
yeah. Okay. My only problem with this card, which has kind of been alleviated with the news of where the product line is going,
Hmm.
is there's just too many of these extra experience cards, and the whole point of the tension between getting experience and being defeated goes away when you're like, well, I'm going to run this and everything else that gets me extra XP, and then you
Yeah,
never die because you have 50 XP by scenario 4. So
right.
that I don't care for that. It's like some people just go for that, and they I mean it's fun, sure, for a few times, but I don't think they should balance they don't need to balance the other cards around this idea, and we shouldn't evaluate the card with the assumption that, well, what if you have this and Karen's Obel because you're Dexter,
Right.
and down the rabbit hole and arcane research.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, I think that's part of the reason why I'm really excited, actually, about the whole legacy slash current environment stuff because I think it's going to help alleviate that question of like, if you want to play in a legacy environment and do this stuff, then you can do that.
Hmm.
But like in the space that their designers are designing for, this is a card that fits into an archetype that has existed but doesn't need to expand it if it's just part of the current environment. So
That's right. Totally agree. All right. Here is Maxine in a card.
actually,
Yeah, that is.
oh, that's cute.
Yeah, she's kind of in the art from like Earthborn Rangers that she's got now.
Oh, right.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, 2-cost ally, and when you reveal chaos tokens during a skill test you are performing, exhaust Katarina Sojka, reveal tokens from the chaos bag until a token with a symbol is revealed. Resolve that symbol and ignore the rest. So 1/2 soak. Very similar idea to Olive, but also an ally. A little different in how it functions, but the same token fishing archetype is now has another ally. Not as much soak as Olive, but if you really want symbols, then this seems
I'm
better.
I'm really confused. Do you also reveal the regular token?
Oh, I knew you were gonna ask that. Okay, here's the issue, right? It says
Yeah.
when you reveal chaos tokens, reveal a token is basically the
Yeah.
effect. Is that on top of the normal
Because
token?
it doesn't say when you would and it doesn't say instead, right? That's the keywords for
It
replacement.
should. So
It
Olive says
should.
when you would. The only reason I think it should, because otherwise it's bad, right?
If it revealed another token on top of this.
Yeah, because like, what are you? I mean, like all of you pick 2 out of 3, so you're resolving 2 also. But
Yeah.
this one, I think you don't know which one. So when you reveal, this is before you do it, before you pull
Yes.
from the bag. So it
Yes.
feels like you would be kind of blindly deciding, well, not deciding because you already have to decide, but yeah, I don't know. It just you'd be revealing until you get a symbol. You're like, great, I got my skull, and then you reveal another thing. And you're like, oops.
Are you also ready for the second brain burner?
Sure.
Does this work with the Rod of Carnivagos?
Okay, during a skill test you're performing. Right, right, right. Okay, so like you don't use her for your token pull. You use her for the draw
The Rod.
five tokens or something.
And try to hit more curses off of this
Yeah, and you just like
somehow.
leave all these other random tokens out of the bag, and then you
Yeah.
pull your token for the skill test.
Yeah.
Yuck.
I don't know. I'm just trying to break things. Um anyway. Uh
So the reason why I would say like this is different than Wendy's wording
yeah,
slightly.
yeah.
So Wendy's wording is the you return the other token to the bag, but it has the same
Yep.
when you reveal but it's that one is when you reveal a chaos token. So my very
Oh god.
very um my 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 generous reading of this is that they mean that step. Like when you reveal chaos tokens is that step of the skill test timing.
Yeah.
Just because there's a plural there, just because it says chaos tokens,
Yeah. Okay, that's fair. Yeah.
that's a generous reading. It should say when you would.
Oh boy. Anyway,
Anyway,
okay,
yeah,
let's okay. I'm going to talk about this card in assuming the intended context. So,
yeah.
if the intended wording of this is like when you would normally reveal a chaos token, instead you just reveal a symbol token and that one.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like you're just ignoring every token in the bag other than the symbol tokens,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Which includes an auto
Okay,
fail.
correct. And also, if you draw a curse, then you have to keep going anyway.
Yeah.
Um, so, um, this is this can't be more gym tech, is it? I mean, it
There,
seems still it seems still kind of bad
I mean, I think
for gym.
it's still depends on if you're getting anything out of it, right?
Yeah,
I mean, it's like pass one test around kind of tech if you know that you can cover all the symbols.
yeah, that's true.
If
I
that,
guess it does increase your chances of getting the auto fail though. Although I guess it increases the chance of you getting the elder sign as well.
yeah,
Um, so that's fair.
yeah. I don't know. Like, is this so again? The olive is mostly for token fishing as well. So is this doing
Yes.
something any different, or is it just kind of a side grade?
You know what might also be is this is a free way to ignore tokens for um,
Agatha,
Agatha,
yeah.
right? So this is a reliable way every turn for you to be able to do this.
Hmm.
So that's good.
And then we assume that this is a good way to reveal a bunch of tokens that could
Yeah,
be ignored with one of these guys.
true. That is true.
So you don't have to spend your charges anymore. Maybe. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So that's probably
Huh.
for that. That's not bad.
Yeah. I think I'm having difficulty slotting this into a thing. So I feel like I need someone else to do some like deck check to see how this works.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at.
So let's just imagine you added, 10 blesses or curses or something to the bag, and you want to draw those for whatever reason.
Yeah.
This seems way more likely to hit them than any other symbol.
True. True.
So I like that this card and maybe the other ones we saw earlier don't just like sidestep the whole blessed curse archetype that's out there already.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like
That's
to
true.
try it because I like token fishing. I think it's fun. I yeah, I mean I'll try it in gym. Let's see if it works. I still think that since we got spoiled with Olive 2 last time for Piece of Hemlock Vale, everything else just kind of pales in comparison. You're like, well,
That is true. All of two is just so good. But I mean, she's also level 0, so I think that's fair.
yeah. So I compare it to level 0 Olive, and this
Yeah.
is the same price but less soak.
Right.
So I don't know. I gotta give it a shot. Okay, so some more tech for dealing with the encounter. Sorry, the chaos bag. Sign of xelotaph, a symbol of protection. 3 cost asset. Myriad. You get 3 of them. Seal, skull, cultist, elder thing, or tablet. 3 charges. When your turn begins, you must spend a charge or discard this, and you can do the replenish thing with this card. It's like Mind's Eye or something.
Yeah.
So we have a version of this already, the Chthonian Stone, and maybe Protective Incantation also lets you seal things, I think. Um, so this kind of maybe adds more to the archetype, so you can continually like get rid of more of these tokens.
Hmm.
It's not this one isn't unique, so you could have 2 of them.
Right.
I don't love the
Hmm.
effect. Like I don't know how much sealing matters, but there's so much they're trying to push in this expansion. I'm gonna give it a shot and see what it's like.
Yeah. This could be scenario tech as well. If one of the tokens is particularly nasty.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't know, Forgotten Age, fourth scenario, for example.
Yeah, Boundary
Um,
Beyond.
Better Beyond.
So
So like,
this kind of reminds you of the issue of looking back at Katarina. If you're playing on hard, right,
yeah,
drawing symbol tokens is just actively bad. Unless
right.
you seal the ones that do something in particular. Like the skulls don't usually do anything bad.
And then you increase your chances of getting the auto fail.
Yay!
Which also, honestly, in hard is sometimes better than drawing a token, right?
Absolutely. That's why they changed
So,
Daisy's Advanced Necronomicon to make
right.
you do all of the token effects.
So that's fair.
Um, okay, like I think the card's probably fine if you're doing all the shenanigans, but I've always had a hard time like stuffing this stuff into a deck.
Yeah. I think it's also rough that it's not fast.
Eh,
If this was fast, I'd be like, that's really good.
yeah.
But it's not fast, so
Uh,
yeah.
Going back to like the Seeker stuff from a few weeks back. Remember the uncanny specimen that let you cancel stuff? I think it was just
Yes.
these symbol tokens.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
So I'm not going to go back and look at all those cards again, but just sort of a reminder that there's some synergy between the card pools.
That is true. Right.
Like, could you get a chaos bag down to like, I don't know, like 5 tokens or something?
Well, five of the oh yeah, I guess you have to get all those other rituals. The issue is that there aren't a lot of assets that seal like -1s and -2s, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um yeah.
But there's no like, so protective incantation is a group limit something in play. This one doesn't have that.
That is true. Okay. That's a good point. So yeah, you could seal all the symbol tokens out, I guess. Yeah, and protective incantation could seal literally anything. So
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Other
I don't know
than,
how worth that is,
yeah.
but yeah.
Maybe there's something here. I think it's
Yeah.
kind of a fun thing to explore. Moving on. Spectral Shield, 1 cost event, spell, spirit, so Calvin can take it.
Hey.
Fast, play only during your turn. Attach to a player card with health and or sanity at your location, including investigator cards. When forced, when attached card takes 1 or more damage or horror, cancel 1 of that damage or horror. The owner of Spectral Shield must remove 1 charge from an asset they control. If they cannot, you discard this. So if you have 9 charges on something, this is potentially just cancel 9 damage or horror.
Cancel 9 damage or horror. Wow. Okay. That's pretty good. I also think that this is really, really good in Diana Stanley specifically.
So for Diana, she can't put this under her unless you lose the effect, right?
Well, yeah, but that's what I mean. Like, I don't like. It's a 1 cost fast way
Fast.
to cancel something.
Yeah. So you could just cancel one thing
Yeah, and then just put it underneath her.
and have no charges that you know are getting rid of, but you
Yep.
have to, right? So if you have any charges, they have to go.
Is that true? I guess you're right. Yeah, it does not say May. Okay. No, that's fair. That's fair.
So you just play your
Um,
Sixth Sense and you're good.
yes. Yeah. Poop to health, as it was called.
Oh, right. Alchemical transmutation.
Chemical transportation. Um. So yeah. I think that you're getting at something with like the because I mean we've already had some use cases for charge batteries, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this is a really really good one. But you are right, because it is force. Like you have to think about that, huh? I like the design.
This is a great design. I love this. This is like
Yeah,
really interesting to manage in your deck.
yeah.
Okay, so what are the cards with charges that Calvin can take?
Wait, hold on. Oh God,
Earthly Serenity?
it's Earthly Serenity. Does that have charges? Yes, it does.
Yeah.
Of course it does.
Uh,
I mean, although that is already healing horror.
yeah,
So
exactly.
I
But
guess you don't need to spend the action to test it. Which
yeah,
is like
it's preventing you
Tesla's
from
healing,
like
so
the
that's
direct
good.
damage or horror. I think is
Yeah,
the biggest thing.
yeah.
When attached card takes, so it has to be your investigator or like an ally or something, right?
Correct. And specifically when it says takes 1 or more damage horror,
Mm-hmm.
could that be direct?
Yeah. So I think it could be direct damage or horror because you're placing it on your card.
Oh, but it can't be.
I don't think it
Wait,
can be
hold
like a
on.
leather coat or something because I don't think those cards take. damage or horror. I think if they just get assigned damage or horror.
Well, that's what I mean. Is like, for example, what about Beat Cop level 2?
So that
That's
could,
part of a cost,
yeah, that could
right?
work.
So
So, but you would cancel it and then not get the benefit. So that would,
got it, because it's part of the cost. That's
yeah,
right. Okay. Um, yeah. Is there any like self damage or horror that's not part of a cost? I feel like they're usually pretty good about that. I guess
yeah. I can't
like
think of anything else.
Greta Wagner. Yeah, that's part of the cost.
Hmm.
Okay. Anyway, so I don't think there's no way to get around that kind of stuff. What did you say about leather coat? I mean, that's just an asset though, right?
Yeah, but like if you attach this to a leather coat for some reason,
Yeah.
and you put the damage there, I don't think it counts as the card taking damage or horror.
Hmm. I'd have to look at the wording for other things that happen. I feel like it might, but I don't know.
I
I
don't
don't know.
actually know either, but my intuition is just like you as a player takes damage or horror. Uh,
Right.
yeah, but then the investigator card, maybe nothing works then, right? Except for beat up.
Yeah. I mean, I think the issue is that the wording for damage horror is usually that it deals damage or horror,
Right.
and then you assign damage or horror, and then you apply it. There's no taking in there anywhere. So
Yeah.
like,
Like what I mean, taking
yeah,
is like you, the player, right?
correct. Or like, but either you take it or you're dealt it, right?
Yeah, yeah. But I think those are equivalent. They have something in the rules about like taking or
Oh
being
yeah, here
dealt
we
is the
go.
same.
Yeah, when taking or being dealt damage. Okay, right. That's just in specifically when it refers to you.
Hmm.
It may include any assets you control. That's like the thing about that.
Yeah, but like when the attached card takes it, it's just that just feels a little off to me in terms of the wording. Maybe
Right.
we need
Because
some more.
if it said when you take, then all of this would be fine.
Right.
Because then it could just be on any asset you control. But then it would be broken because you could do it on anything.
Right. They want you to
Um,
choose a card.
choose a thing.
Why would you
This is
not put it on yourself though? Like what's the point of putting it on any other card?
like you put it on an ally so that they can't die, I guess.
Like to
But you're
avoid
right. Like
snake bite
so
or something?
that's the thing that confuses me because right. Okay, no wait. Okay, I figured it out, right?
Okay.
It's okay that it doesn't work with when you're assigning them damage because you could have just assigned it to yourself if this was on yourself, right?
Right.
And so putting it on an ally asset specifically prevents effects that directly deal damage to those things.
That's right.
Like effects that like deal direct damage to each ally asset you control, for
Yep.
example.
Hmm.
I think that's fair. Anyway, back to the card.
I think it's a good card.
Yeah. It's good. For one mana.
Ooh.
One resource and fast, I think is really good.
Someone's been playing a lot of Magic recently.
Maybe.
Mm. Yeah, well, fast one cost, like, how could that be bad, right?
Yeah, that's really good.
And you can tutor it. It's a spell.
Yep.
All right, let's move on to another spell. Whispers of Doom. Really cool artwork here as well. This is the one I was referring to last time with Intimidation.
Yeah. Right. Oh god, yeah.
Yeah, so it's a 3-cost event, which is not cheap in Mystic, but it's a
Mhm.
parlay. Choose a non-weakness enemy at your location, even ones that are not engaged with you or engaged with anything. You're just testing 3 willpower, but plus difficulty for that enemy's horror value. If you succeed, defeat that enemy or deal 3 damage instead. If you fail, place 1 doom. Yeah, this is like, I don't want to say this like busted or anything, but this is the Mystic equivalent of Waylay.
Yes. It baseline deals 3 damage, which is already really good. Obviously this does get better with enemies that have a really high fight value, assuming that they have not necessarily equivalent horror values, so that you can kind of get around that. Yeah, it's basically a kill spell. It deals 3 damage, so it's like, slightly better than Spectral Razor, but the difficulty is probably a little higher as well. And you're not adding your combat to it.
Yeah. So it's very similar to Spectral Razor. It's also more
Yeah.
expensive. The benefit I think of this is just when there's non-elite enemies that have 5 health or something.
Right. Yeah, I mean it's pretty good. I like it.
I think
Pretty
it's
nice.
it's a card that you hold on to in your hand for a while. It's not like Spectral Razor that you kind of just use and say, okay, I got rid of my enemies here. But you might be in a tough spot, and this just does a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. Um. Yeah. I mean, mentioning back to intimidation. Obviously, I think the one thing that sets us apart is the fact that it gets the plus X difficulty.
Hmm.
But if you are a classic mystic and kind of dumping your entire thing into willpower, then I don't think that's going to matter too
It's
much.
good reason to do it, right?
Yeah. And it's just a great kill spell in general. Like, I think honestly, well, okay. I think the one thing that it does cost 3 over Spectral Razor's 2,
Hmm.
which I know that we're just comparing the Spectral Razor, but um, like I think that I'm trying to think of reasons why, as a Mystic, you wouldn't just take this like in every Mystic deck. Um, and it's possibly if your willpower is only 4,
Hmm.
it might be a little tough to get over that difficulty. I think, um, but I don't know.
Yeah, okay. I played this in Lily recently,
Yeah,
and her willpower is 3.
yeah,
It could be 4, but it's mostly 3. Um, and I think it's one of those things where you just gotta save up and you
yeah.
can
That's
make it
true.
happen. Like, you can use the her discipline that gives you +5
You're right. Yeah.
for any skill test, and then that's like 2 actions to defeat probably a chunky enemy that otherwise would have been hard to deal with.
I, I just realized it's this non-weakness enemy.
I know, isn't
Is
that
there
funny?
is there a specific enemy that would have broken this? I'm trying to think. Like,
Mm, Nathaniel Cho's weakness?
I guess. I mean, that would have. Come on,
I know.
you have to have someone else do it as well. Oh man.
No, I don't know
Yeah.
why it has that.
Yeah. Obviously, I think this is another great spell in the Parallel Agnes kit because like she can get
Oof.
it down to 1.
Oh,
That's
that's so
that's so
good.
good. That's so good.
And I feel like
Um,
the place one doom on the enemy is not going to matter, but I will laugh when it does.
that's true.
Then you have your string of curses to just do it.
Yep.
Yeah, that's really an interesting combination, right? Like, not to that you should run both cards or like everything, but I that card does just testlessly defeat enemies too.
Yeah.
It just requires a bit more setup. This, I think, is
Yeah.
just generically good.
Mm-hmm.
I like it.
I like
I
it.
think it's fairly costed as well.
Yeah.
All right. The Eye of Ghatanothoa. This is a 2 cost, 4 experience card, level 2. Item, Relic Cursed, +1 willpower, so you can do that Whispers of Doom better. And you get to play with the top card of the encounter deck revealed. 3 health, kind of unusual for Mystics, and an
Yeah.
accessory slot. So this is a very interesting card to
Yeah.
me. I've played with it once. I played with it like in one scenario in Daisy,
Mm-hmm.
and I, I mean, I like encounter deck manipulation. I like the wards. I'll run, multiple types of wards in the same deck just to not get behind from a treachery. Here, you just know it's coming,
Yeah.
at least for one player anyway. I think that can do some interesting things while you're playing the game and knowing that next round you're drawing this card. Do you want to end your turn on a location where that card doesn't matter?
Right.
Do you want to play
I
a
mean,
weapon or something to prepare for the enemy that you're about to draw?
yeah. I I think that there's a ton of value in this. I think it's like value that's, not necessarily easy to see, but I'm just imagining all the scenarios of being like, if I knew what the lead investigator was going to draw next round, we would have such an advantage, right?
Hmm.
Um, I think this is really good. I'd like the 3 health is also crazy.
Yeah, it's
Um,
really good.
the only real downside is obviously you only have 1 copy in your deck, right?
Hmm.
So I mean, obviously you can name cursed and have Dex Molly Maxwell find it, I guess. Well, maybe that's a little tricky, but um, I don't know. I think it's really good.
Yeah, I just like the idea of playing with a little bit more information. Now, for Gloria, who this is one of the few cards, I think, maybe the only one that we've seen so far, that's really made for her. What's interesting is when you see Prophecy of the End. This means that you don't use your reaction ability and you just let it surge.
Yeah, That's a ton of information.
Yeah, so it kind of gives you that extra, you know, this weakness isn't as scary anymore because I'm always going to see it when it comes. Especially if you make her the lead investigator, because yeah, I mean, like with the eye, you can in the middle of drawing things see what the next couple cards are going to be, or the next one
Right.
anyway, which is fine.
Although I
But
guess if you are Glory, it doesn't have to be. You don't have to be the lead because you can just have you go first anyway.
that's true. That's true. Um, yeah, that actually makes sense, right? That's why she probably has that.
Yeah, exactly.
Hmm. Okay. Anyway, so you see that this is up. You know, either you're the lead and well, actually, you see that it's up, and then you decide who goes first, right? So this always just surges.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's really good.
that's really good.
Hmm. Um, anyway, having played with it for one scenario, sometimes I was like, well, there's nothing I can do about this card. Sometimes I really did say I'm going to save up some resources to deal with it, and that was felt like a lot of value. So give it a shot.
I think it's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Like again, the whole thing about enemy management and urgency. Like if you know that the next round won't, you are not going to draw an enemy. That's so much information.
Yeah. So in solo, it's kind of equivalent to level 0 Lissogram, who
Right.
who
Yeah.
can just kind of do that, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but A, you don't have to run her, and B, I don't know. I mean, I think that this is a reasonable upgrade, right? It only costs
Yeah.
2, takes up a different slot.
I guess. Also, oh no, what was the edge of the earth card that you can say what you're about to draw and you can cancel it?
Yeah, I did run Foresight in that
Nice,
scenario with
nice.
Daisy, and you look at the card and you're like, well,
Well,
I think that
no,
card's
thank you.
actually underrated. I didn't realize it. I hadn't played it before. Oh, I guess I could just mention here that if you play Norman, you get to play with the top card of your deck and the encounter deck revealed. That's
Perfect information.
yeah, exactly. And he's got a,
Yeah.
an alternate signature, split the angle, that kind of lets you do stuff with the top card in the encounter deck too, like discard it, I think. So this actually is a reasonable card if you want to run the alternate signature.
Cool.
All right, let's move on. Sword Cane. This is the card that was designed by, I don't know, the chatter or whatever during one of the streams a few years back, and it is exactly the same as it was then.
So much text they had to put it in the subtitle.
Oh, the design by the Council of Poles. Yeah. Uh-huh. I remember that stream. It was kind of fun.
It was fun.
The Al, I think, was it Alice the same one? The Alice 2? It might have been.
I can't. It was either that. Oh no, I think maybe you're right because I can't remember.
I mean, there's the Fine Clothes and Dragon Pole one. That's coming
Dragon
at some
Ball
point.
Yes, that's right. Okay, that makes sense then.
I'm not sure which one happened at the same time though. Anyway,
Yeah.
this card, the difference between the level 0 one and this one is just that you may deal 1 damage to the enemy or an enemy engaged with you when you the center's play. I think that's it. No.
Yes.
No.
And
No.
also, you get +1 skill value.
Yep, +1 skill value. Ooh, that's actually quite good.
Oh, also, it's fast.
Right. I just
Right?
assume this is fast always because Dexter plays it.
You're right. Yeah. Yeah. Originally, it just didn't provoke a tax opportunity.
That's right. Okay. Good upgrade.
I think it's really, really good. Yeah. It's so good.
Yeah, so it's a real weapon now, I think.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I will put this in every single Mystic deck. If I'm honest, if I have 2 XP, I'll do it. Because like this was already my option for enemy management mystics that needed to deal an extra point of damage and didn't want to spend a shriveling charge, the level 0 version. And now that this is so juiced because you're like, deal 2 damage, okay, fast deal it a damage, and then maybe do another one, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I think the hand slots are pretty contested in Mystics now. They used to be not a big deal, but this is a strong contender.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's move on to Spectral Echo. This is a 1-costed event with 2 XP. A ritual attached to your location. Limit 1 per location. Not fast. Not fast. So you spend an action now, and then later, after activate a trigger ability, either the action one or the free triggered ability on a spell or ritual asset. Perform that ability again at the attached location as if you were there, ignoring that asset's cost, the action cost, if any. You may trigger this ability from any location. Return Spiritual Echo to your hand. Kind of draws some comparisons to Doppelganger, but it's not fast. So
Yeah.
this one's gotten some bad rap just because, well, you're spending an action and 2 XP and a resource now to get an action back later, and the card, I guess it comes back to your hand.
Yeah.
But that rate of return is pretty bad. Usually, even at level 0, you can spend like a couple of resources to get an action. And this is net, well, the ability to do something remotely, I guess, is the part that you're getting out of this.
So, okay. Remind me. Okay, I think I understand. So, it's kind of like you are banking an action to do an action twice,
Mm-hmm.
right? So you're like, okay, I'm going to put this here. I'm going to move on. An enemy spawns at the location that I attach this to. And then I'm fighting like a different enemy. I activate my shriveling.
That's right.
And then I can shrivel that enemy and the other one at the original location. Get this back to my hand. I still have to spend a charge.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't say all the assets costs.
Yep, just the action.
Yeah, so that's tricky. It is. I think the the issue is that it's level 2, and that it's hard to justify putting XP into an effect like this. Oh god, it's hard because I think that like I don't. I'm not having like the entirety of the card pool in my head that could be like, oh, but this triggered ability, free triggered ability, at like a different location would be so good if you could just do it then.
So Sixth Sense level 4, I think, is kind of a neat thing
Yeah,
to then you're getting potentially clues from all over the map in
right.
your one action. That's the only thing I can think of that's would be better to do remotely. Or I don't know. You think that there's enemies coming or something later, but you're gonna fight them again also later,
Yeah,
and it gives you just the action. It's you're right. It's banking an action, but I don't know. That's just so I can think of like in the Longest Night or something from
yeah,
Hemlock Vale that you can dump this on a location you just can't get back to,
right.
and you're waiting for enemies to show up. I just don't know how often you're going to do something like that where it's better to use the action on some other turn.
Yeah, I think also potential issue is actually the fact that it returns to your hand. It's like kind of a weird hidden failsafe because like it's not like summon servitor where you can have that guy move to where you want it and then just take an investigate action over and over and over again because you're like, I don't want to go back to that victory location that sucks.
That's right. Yeah.
Um, so
Yeah. If you fail the test, you're like,
yeah, Jesus Christ, oh my god.
it just seems so narrow in terms of. I mean, like, why aren't I just still there?
Yeah, it does.
But I mean, I don't like that argument that much, just because sometimes it's good to do things remotely. But I think it's in this case, you spent a lot just to get the action later,
Yeah,
and that had better matter.
right. Yeah, I think this might become a thing if we get either new cards that might make this better, or if like
Mhm.
someone discovers a particular combo with this card.
Yeah,
But for now, it's hard for me to see it.
yeah. So like again, Doppelganger from the Rogue set was fast,
Yeah,
so it was literally get an extra action, and it returned to your hand too, so make you not be able to do it all the time. Uh, and that was level 1.
yeah,
This
and Myriad.
probably didn't need to be. Yeah, that was Myriad as well. This one didn't need to be level 2.
Yeah,
All right, how much do you want to talk about Transfiguration?
there's literally way too many things I could think about.
Yeah, there's like an
um,
hour long, podcast about this.
yeah,
That
yeah.
the guy
What
who
to do with Transfiguration?
right. Um, so I guess we can keep it brief, right? This is the one where you get to choose a different investigator to play.
Yeah.
once per game.
It's really cool. I am excited that this card exists specifically because I know that someone is gonna find something to
Hmm.
break the game with it, and that excites me.
So
Um,
let me ask you like a different version of the question then. Like you're experienced at other kinds of card games. Uh,
sure.
how do these kinds of effects work in other games that you've played? Does it seem
Yeah.
like an exciting thing to add into Arkham? Are those busted in those games, or is it just kind of a meme thing?
So I think the thing with Transfiguration is that it's hard to compare it to other card games because, the other big card game that I play is Magic the Gathering, and besides the Commander format, Magic the Gathering doesn't have like an investigator that you are.
Right.
Um, and rather, I think the closest equivalent to these kinds of effects are what they would call wish effects, where it brings cards from outside of the game to be very similar to one of the specialist cards that is in this expansion,
Mm-hmm.
the one that can be any card.
Yep.
I believe it's Memories of Another Life.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and those cards were always found as niche just because like there's very specific circumstances where those cards are good. But when they are, they're very good, and they can be the ending piece of a combo, for example.
Mm.
Um, and so for something like this, I actually think that this is a fairly unique effect when it comes to card games. Um, like I'm even trying to think of other board games that do this. That like you can switch what Spirit you're playing at Spirit Island. I literally can't even think of an example that does that, right?
Hmm.
That game's as complicated as it is, right? Um,
Yeah,
and
it's funny. Like in Slay the Spire, you can't really do that, but sometimes you get the effect of like you can get a card from any class, like
right,
randomly.
yeah, I think if anything, this maybe feels something like a Hearthstone card, where like you get cards from outside your class.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so I think that's where the true quote unquote power of this card is going to be, and it's going to be required to be built around entirely. To be like, you have to find an investigator that would never have a set of cards, because they're higher level than they're supposed to be able to be accessed by.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Do
yeah,
you think that it's going to be hard to find this card to make that deck work? In other words, if you are if the whole point of your deck is I am, Sister Mary and I can take guard dog level 2, but then I'm going
right,
to transfigure myself into Daniela who can't take that card,
right.
right? Uh can you build a deck for basically this other investigator, but in the meantime you're playing the one that you actually are told to play at the beginning of the scenario, and
Yeah,
like you don't want to flounder for the first 5
yeah.
turns. Who knows how long it'll take you to find it.
If I'm honest, I think my thought is, I think this is okay. This is going to be a weird thought, but this kind of card, I think, would be really interesting early on in the game. But nowadays, there are enough investigators that if you really want to find a deck building combination out there, I think it exists. And so the only reason that you would want to play this card, specifically if you like want to find a combo, is with an investigator's ability,
Hmm.
where you're like, this ability is broken if you can also take level 5 Necronomicon or something like that,
Right, right.
right? And so I think it's just going to come down to that, where it's going to be a combination of an investigator's ability and an extremely high level class card that they cannot take. Um, but I honestly don't even want to like think about if this is worth it, because I don't think that's what this card is for. Is this card is for the people who want to find that combo, right?
Yeah. And like I said, there's a whole spreadsheet out there where I mean the weird part about this card is that the ruling is every time that a card says something like a name of investigator,
Yeah.
then it refers to both, right? So if you start yourself as Jacqueline Fine
Hmm.
and her Arbiter of Fate says whenever you use the reaction ability on Jacqueline Fine, it doesn't count towards the limit.
Right.
So if you're no longer Jacqueline Fine because you're now Father Mateo,
Oh God.
it still functions, right, as whatever the reaction is on the new investigator card. So the limit once per game, turn an auto fail into Elder Sign, no limit.
Right. Huh. Yeah. And again, I think I need someone to find the combos for me because
Yep.
that's already interesting, and also that's already one where you your decks aren't even that different,
No.
and therefore not drawing this would not even be that bad of a deal.
Yeah, you could
Um,
definitely do that. I mean, obviously Jacqueline's already a good investigator, but you're just
exactly.
then doing Transfiguration to do something kind of fun and silly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I like that this exists. My first read of it was really just like, it's kind of for fun. I don't know if it's good, but
Right.
then I saw someone play a Safina deck
Oh God.
that turned into a Rex Murphy. And
What?
yeah, okay, so here's the thing. If you play Read the Signs every round, getting, +3 or plus whatever it is, and then returning on symbol or whatever, and
Oh,
getting
like
extra clues.
via the painted world.
Uh, no, just like return with to your hand with a symbol with the level 2 version.
Oh, sure, the level 2 version. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, I mean, is it that much better than what Rex Murphy could do
Right.
otherwise? I don't know. Like you have breaking entering
Oh no,
also.
we found another way to break Rex
Right,
Murphy.
exactly. Like it's not that big of a deal, but I thought it was kind of fun to see like, okay, well, uh actually you can do some fun janky stuff with turning into other investigators who should be able to take these cards, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like, well, ultimately you're still probably, I mean, the nice thing about Safina is you could find it pretty quickly.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Wait, hold on. Hold on. Hold on.
Okay,
Hold
okay,
on.
okay.
You play enemy management Agnes and you turn into Nathaniel Cho.
Okay.
So now all of your events are dealing extra damage.
Yes. Oh, Paralagdus?
Parallel Agnes, yes.
Okay, got it. Got it. Yes. So your spectral razors are kind of juiced up.
Yeah. Well, because basically what I'm trying to say is like there's there are a lot of builds out there that are like siloed into their own class, and there are some investigator abilities that are like generic enough. I mean, it's basically the same thing as turning into Rex Murphy, right? That's
Yeah.
like kind of the idea. Um, anyway, well, so what I meant to say is that maybe you don't need to think about this at all. Actually, like if you're Parallel Agnes and you can just play Transfiguration and become the investigator that is best suited to the situation that you're in, right? Instead of planning to be like, yes, I will always become Nathaniel Cho with this card. You can have like a couple options where like, okay, well, this right now, we need to get a bajillion clues. So let's just become Rex Murphy right now. Or you're like, right now, I need to like, I don't know, uh uh I need to move I need to move a lot, right? I'll become like, I don't know, or uh what's his face?
Luke?
He actually doesn't have yeah, Luke, for example. Right. I guess he doesn't come with this gate box, I guess.
No. Yeah.
Um so like I think there are ways that this can yeah, there are ways that this can work.
I kind of like that. I hadn't thought about that in terms of tech for a scenario. Like, from what I've seen, mostly people talk about it as like, I'm going to build my deck for basically two investigators, with the one I'm
Yeah.
starting with, and then my side investigator. But you're right. Like, how much more interesting is it if you get to uh, think about the situation you're in and which
I
one actually
I
would be more beneficial?
I just thought of another one, right? What if you're a mystic and you're playing this card obviously and you're like, I need to get a lot of more money. I'm going to become Zoe Samurez, right?
Yeah.
And I just going to play my stuff now.
And she
And
still
I
has
still have
4
4
willpower.
willpower.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like there's things I'm like getting there. Like maybe this card isn't a combo card. Maybe this is a flex card where you're like, I will become the thing that I need to be in this moment. And there are enough investigators that you can become
Hmm.
where you can find an option that's good.
You're playing Lola Hayes.
Right.
and you choose
Exactly.
anyone.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Or like Charlie Kane is kind of interesting too. I like that this has just ended up being 2 XP level 2 card. Um, well, I don't know. I mean, you lose the ally slots, but what if you have some interesting combo of allies you wanted to take and you don't really care about the ally slots as much? Eh.
Right. I mean, yeah. I mean, I think there's that. I think there's stuff here now. Now I'm thinking about it, like
And if you
I'm
don't
like
need
I'm
it, if you already used it once, there's some pretty nice icons on it.
yeah. This yeah.
Okay, let's move on. There's 4 cards left.
Okay.
The next one is Enraptured, level 2. This is a level 0 card that I kind of like, but I don't know. Some people don't really play it that much. Um, but you know what? They're going to play this one.
Oh yeah.
So we've added a wild icon, which already makes it a lot better in Mystic.
Yes.
Max 1 committed per skill test. The original one didn't have that. If this skill test is successful during investigation, the original one said place 1 charge or secret on an asset you control. This one says place up to 3 charges and or secrets on assets controlled by investigators at your location. What?
So good. This
Uh,
card's so good.
okay. Immediately when I saw this, and like Justin messaged me and he was like, I wish I could have played this in the Amanda deck that we played through Circle and Done. And I was like,
It's like the
please
bog out of
God,
his
no.
brain.
He would have never have drawn encounter cards again from the
Oh
Cryptic Grimoire.
god. Oh god. Yeah.
Okay,
I
so
mean the fact that it already said secret previously, but now it says charges.
no, the original
Uh
said charge,
oh it does, you're right. Um so
but you can do a mix this time.
correct. Yeah, I think this card's awesome. It's only level 2, which is crazy.
Yeah, this one could have gotten the level 3 treatment that
Yeah,
the
I would have been
watch
fine
list
if this is
got.
level 3.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
It's,
Calming down a little bit.
uh,
It does have to be an investigation, right? So you have to either take time out of your way, or you have to be playing someone that is doing investigates. Obviously, you could just play the new Eyes of the Dreamer. That works really well with this card.
mm-hmm.
That's 3 more tokens to look at. But even so, you can like put I don't know. You can be Daisy and put secrets on the Necronomicon again, which is always my default by saying things are broken. But I it's really good.
Yeah. I think
Yeah.
it could reasonably say, probably should reasonably say once per round or something. What if you're playing Norman, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of busted. You can.
Oh man, and it's level. Since it's level 2, it's such a good practice makes perfect target.
Yeah.
It's so good.
So just to
Oh
explain the
man.
earlier thing with Amanda, right? She could play places this under her, and then could
Yep.
potentially place 9 charges or secrets
Yeah.
in a single round, and maybe more, right?
Yeah.
That's just a bit much. But I will say that it's interesting that the design philosophy has shifted a bit from uh gosh, I don't know, Carcosa or whenever Recharge first came out.
Yeah. Oh god.
So
Wouldn't you
that
love to have a chance to just discard the asset?
yeah, and the best it did was what, put 3?
3, I think. Yeah.
Put 3 for an action. This lets you commit it to, willpower tests, so Sixth Sense or Right of Seeking or whatever. And it gets you the 3. Um, this is just so much better because of how easy it is to use. And you're not just potentially randomly getting rid of your asset. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's move on. This is actually kind of interesting to talk about right afterwards because Lost Arcana here is a way of having more charges on stuff, but I don't know. Like this just seems easier to recur. I like this card too. So level 3 card, 3 costs, item tome occult, 2 charges it comes in with, so it's basically already full. But then you get to place extra charges on it. It's not replenish, and that happens after you discover the last clue, or the last clue is discovered from your location. And what are they for? They're for using on spell or ritual assets you control. So more in this whole idea of charges are not so hard to come by anymore.
Yeah.
Which is kind of necessary for these cards to work, the Eyes of the Dreamer and the Breath of the Sleeper, but
Mhm.
becomes really good with all your classic spells too.
Yeah, I mean, I like it. Pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Um, are there other ritual cards that have chart? I guess Sign of Xelotaph. Um, rituals with charges. Trying to think
Um,
because it
does
look.
you can look that up? I'm sure there's at least one.
Yeah.
Not too many. Rituals generally are things like haste or borrowed time or something.
Ooh, bestow resolve.
Oh yeah,
Let's see. Call the Beyond. No, that
that's
doesn't have charges.
that's the
Hey, close the circle.
there we go.
Hey. All
So
right.
this is just a bunch of extra actions then. That's cool.
There you go.
Hmm.
Oh, living ink. That's a ritual.
So you could spend the charges off of this, so that
Oh,
doesn't
hold on.
discard. That's kind of
No,
neat.
it says remove one charge from living ink. You're not
No.
spending it.
Oh.
Blah. Uh, let's see. Oh, okay. And then seal of the seventh sign, the one that seals the autofill. That has charges, and that's a ritual.
And that one
So
spend.
that one, uh, no, it also removes. Dang it.
Maybe there needs some
Dang it.
rules text on like spend versus remove.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Anyway.
All right. Nice
Yeah,
card.
I think it's good.
All right. I think the Mystic cards have all been kind of like interesting, which is why this discussion has been longer than usual.
Yeah.
I really like this one too. Deliverance is a
Oh yeah.
interesting effect. Again, I think they just had some cool creative ideas and they're in this set.
Mm-hmm.
So level 3 card, only one icon because they wanted to make room for that cool art behind it. It is a spirit, so Calvin can play this one, and Hank cannot. Fast. Play when the draw encounter card step of the Mythos phase would begin. You draw each encounter card that would normally be drawn this Mythos phase. Cards drawn during this Mythos phase cannot be canceled, and the first card drawn gains Surge. Well, why would you want to do that? Because next round, you just don't draw any encounter cards at all for anyone. Twice per game. Good
Seems
in
pretty
4
good.
player.
Yeah.
Probably not good in... definitely not good in solo. Well,
Yeah, well,
maybe, but...
it's kind of like you're getting 2 now and then 0 the next one,
Mm-hmm.
right?
I mean,
And
maybe that's okay, but 3 XP
and in
probably not.
theory, if the card on top already had Surge, it's fine.
And that's probably the combo they want with the eye,
Yeah, exactly.
so you can see it. If it happens to be, this, then great.
Yep.
Then it's just
Yep.
free. But
Yeah.
imagine,
So
one person drawing, 4 cards or something
yeah,
in a 4-player game, and then it's basically they get a 5th one maybe, and then next round no one draws anything.
that's awesome.
4 instead
I
of 8.
think Mystics are also some of the most defensive investigators in the game when it comes to both their willpower and also their ability to cancel things, ignore damage and horror and stuff like that.
They can't
Um,
cancel the cards, but they could play Deny Existence on a Rotting Remains or something.
that's right. So like, I mean, I think the Mystics are also best suited to handle this, right? It's like imagine if when you play Delve Too Deep, instead of everyone drawing a card, if only the Mystic drew the cards,
Ooh,
right?
that would be fun.
That would be better because the Mystic would then be usually set up for that. So I mean, it's I think it's really good.
Imagine if you
Obviously,
draw a bunch of enemies this way. I think
right?
that's still kind of okay because sometimes in the higher player count games, you don't want them spread across the board.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
might be that you need to run some tech with this to, not just get bodied by something like that.
yeah. Play
But
like ethereal form or
uh-huh,
something like
uh-huh.
that.
That exactly. As I say, ethereal form, or if you're Agnes or someone, you can play cutting distraction, or the
Yeah.
other one,
Ooh,
elaborate
play a storm
distraction.
of spirits. Perfect storm of spirits.
Oh, Storm of Spirits! That's so cool.
That's so good.
I think this is just a awesome, awesome design.
Yeah, it's really cool.
And I know I say things about Calvin a lot, but I think this actually is a Calvin card.
Ooh, yeah, you're right. You're right. He just accidentally dies, but he'll be fine.
I mean, that's the value he can bring, right? That he just doesn't
Yeah,
care about the encounter cards as much. So either you're using it to power himself up quicker,
yeah,
or you're strong enough to deal with all of the things that show up. and then no one else has to deal with encounter cards. You know how good this effect is. Though, like I don't, I know you know. I just want to say to everyone who's watching, the idea that you have an entire round where you know that you're not getting something that gets in the way.
Yeah.
This comes up so much.
Yeah.
You're trying to, move to a certain location and get out. And it's like, well, the worst thing to draw here would be everyone gets an enemy, or, uh, something like what's the one in the Forgotten Age that you can't discover clues or something from more than one
Oh
location?
God. Yeah, the deep dark, something
Deep
like
Dark,
that.
yeah, yeah, something like
Deep
that,
dark.
where it's like that would be really bad next round because then we can't get through, and this is the last round or something. Um, if you just know that that will not happen, and it's not just that you don't draw the card, because sure, you could just run more protection. It's no one draws the cards.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a huge tempo gain. Like, even though you are drawing one more card than you would be, and you can't cancel them,
Mm-hmm.
like you most likely you are the mystic with high willpower, and therefore some of those cards probably won't even do anything. Um, like I like because it's all in one person, they'll more like and even if that's the case, everyone else can commit things to you as
Mm-hmm.
well.
Mm-hmm.
If you're like, I need to pass this agility test to not die. um but like there's so much tempo that you gain for being like, yeah, we can just deal with this and then just have an entire turn that we can just do whatever we want.
Mm-hmm.
um yeah, it's I mean, it's really good.
And a lot of encounter cards, really, more than probably people think, it does not matter who draws them.
Yeah.
The thing just happens, and this is not a penalty then. Or sometimes, like I said, it kind of matters who draws them, and it would be better if you drew them. Imagine if you had like two obscuring fogs in the top four cards. You're like, well,
A
oh no. Um, so first watch is like the level 0 version of this card, right?
hmm
I don't know if you've played that card much, but it's nice as a level 0 card. I think Gloria kind of can use it if she goes Guardian. And this is it's just a souped up version. I think it's really cool.
Yeah, I have played First Watch, and it is, yeah. There were tons of cases where we're like, oh, it doesn't actually matter who draws this card, so the Guardian will just draw it, and someone can just not draw a card this round, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, like that's so good, and that's gonna come up more often than I think. Um, yeah, it's really good.
Love it. Last card, Eldrich Brand, a 5 XP level 5 permanent exceptional card. So I
Wait,
bet
the
you.
Rogue class?
Oh man. So do you have 10 XP up your sleeve? If you do, when you purchase this card, choose a non-signature spell asset in your deck and record that spell's name was branded in your campaign log. Sorry, was branded in your campaign log. It wasn't branded in your campaign log. It's branded on you. This is your branded spell. Your deck cannot include more than one copy, so I suppose if you already have two, you have to get rid of the other one. But probably if you're trying to play this, don't upgrade the other one.
Right.
Just upgrade one of them. Before you draw your opening hand, search your deck for your branded spell and play it, paying its cost. I don't think that this is that good personally. I like the effect, of course. I think that's cool, but I don't know if I ever have 10 XP lying around for this.
Yeah, 10 XP is tough. Like, yeah. So here's the thing. I think there are some spells where you're like, I am going to build my entire deck around this.
Mm-hmm.
There are some spells that do that. Um, the one of the recent ones I remember is like uh, Eyes of Velusia, right? That you can get the Blade of Yoth from that. That's a spell, and
Mm-hmm.
that's an asset as well.
It is, yeah.
And that would be a very good card to just have, starting in play.
And
And
only
things like
Akachi can take that.
that. Indeed. But I think
Or
the
Marie.
issue,
No,
right?
not Marie. She can't take
I think
this.
the issue with a lot of spell assets is that there's such a high density of them, and they all, for the most part, are like things that have charges on them, limited uses,
Mm-hmm.
right? Um, and so this effect is good, but it would be great if it like tutored an item, for example. Like if this could tutor like the red clock, then you're
Ooh.
like, I am going to win this game no matter what.
Yep.
But there are no spell assets that are that powerful, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really what brings it down. So maybe this will get better in the future?
Could
Question
be.
mark? Yeah.
They may have just like erred on the side of caution with the cost. So let's think
Right.
about like the best version of that, which I think is 6 cents level 4.
Yeah.
So you're saving yourself 4 XP, kind of, not really, because of arcane research and all the rest, to
Yeah.
not put a second copy in.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And to draw it and to play it.
To draw it and to play it. So that's really quite good to start every scenario with. Is it
Mm-hmm.
enough in to be like I'm after what 2-3 scenarios you've got 14 XP to put into this?
Right.
And
Yeah,
do nothing else, right?
I mean, again, I think the problem is that you need something that literally you're going to build your entire deck around. That like, if I can get this spell asset out, then I will win the game.
Win the game, yeah.
And there are no spell assets that do that. Like,
Yeah.
that's the problem.
Yeah. And you have to pay for it still. Imagine if you're like,
So I have to pay for it.
I mean, if you're playing this in the Forgotten Age, you better take provisions, otherwise this just whiffs. You start with
That's
2
right.
resources, and you're very sad about your spell that costs more than that.
Yeah.
That's really
Yeah.
dumb.
It's funny they also say non-signature spell because, as far as I can tell, and I'm looking through all the spell assets right now,
Mm-hmm.
there's only one, and it's split the angle,
Oh.
which is weird. Maybe I'm looking at this wrong, but I think that's it.
Yeah, I don't think they have assets. It's usually like a tome or something, or the
Yeah,
spell
yeah.
event, which is the Painted World.
Yeah. Anyway,
Hmm.
so yeah, I think the like there is potential with this card, but the potential just isn't there yet. But if they ever make a spell asset that is like, I don't know, like they made a customizable spell asset,
Hmm.
right? This would be a great candidate for that because you sunk 10 XP into that already. Although I guess maybe you only have one copy now, which is sad, but right. And
Yeah.
also if it didn't have limited uses, if it did like a thing every single turn, like I'm literally just thinking about the red clock, right?
Mm-hmm.
That yeah.
I'm with you on
So
that. I think that makes a lot of sense. When I just looked at this, I just look at the cost and I say, man, my deck had better be very good outside of the one spell that I've upgraded.
right.
But you're right that it's probably worse than that because it's just like, does that do enough? Because it probably won't win you the game. The closest, again, like I said, I think is 6 cents, but even so.
Yeah. And like, and I'm thinking in my head, like, are there circumstances where like, oh, because this in theory gets around the mystic problem where you didn't draw any of your spell assets.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you can just have one to start with. But is it worth 10 XP? And specifically, I think the 10 XP is better served just adding additional spell assets or even spell events into your deck
Mm-hmm.
to increase the consistency of you drawing those rather than just drawing one immediately
Mm-hmm.
for 10 XP.
Yeah. Right. I don't know if deck space is that much at a premium in Mystic to warrant this.
Right.
Because oh no. What if you get like turn 1 maybe not Crypt Choke because you should be able to pass that, but
Yeah.
even if you did.
Yeah. No, like turn 1 ants.
Yeah, it's exactly. Oof. All right. Well, that'll do it for a discussion on the Mystics, and that went a little bit longer than the other ones, just because there's a lot of text here, and there's a lot of interesting new effects.
Yeah, like this whole homunculus thing, transfiguration.
Yeah.
Like I have ghatanothoa. I think is like a really just there's a lot of hidden value in here that no one is going to think about until it happens. You're like, oh my god, that was awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah, which card here are you looking forward to playing first?
Whew. I mean, to be boring, it's going to be Eyes of the Dreamer.
Fair enough.
It's because I would like another 6 cents, please.
Mm-hmm.
That seems good.
Yeah. Okay. So I've already played. Where'd it go? This one. So
Yeah.
I can't pick that. I'm looking forward to trying out Katarina.
Hmm.
I
Okay.
think I want to see what it does and if I'm happy with the effect or not. I think I'm not sure. I think your conversation with me helped think that one through. But I reserve judgment until I play with the cards. And the one card that I'm probably not going to play for like a while is this one.
It's so good though.
It's so good. It's just okay. So not to belabor the point, but I do think that the card is going to play different in a different environment where Amanda doesn't exist, or they're not trying to balance around her. Um, where charges are more bountiful, and that's okay. That's like what they're trying to do. Like this doesn't look too weird if most things are like Breath of the Sleeper, where like one charge isn't that meaningful. We'll see.
True. Yeah.
We'll see. But as it is, I think this card is it just needed a little one more XP or limit once per round. I don't know. Anyway,
Yeah, yeah.
all right. Well, that'll do it for us. We have one more set of class cards to look at. Those are the survivor cards. That'll be next time. We'll see you then.
Bye-bye.